Good evening and welcome to the Dr. Maria Show. It is July 9th, 2025. And what is really upsetting me is the continuing hate and rhetoric that our country is experiencing it. We saw it since we've labeled it the Trump derangement syndrome way back in 2016, the hatred, the vitriol that came out, and it continued during his first administration. It continued during Biden's administration. But now it seems to be actually going a step further in calling for violence. Axios came out with an article recently allegedly talking behind the scenes with Democrat congressional people saying that their base is telling them that what they're doing is not good enough, and there needs to be blood to grab the attention of the press and the public. We recently seen a Texas pediatrician. This is amazing to me, not in a good way, hoping that any non-MAGA person in Texas be okay with the flash flood of the Guadalupe River, in saying that MAGA got what it deserved. I cannot believe this. Over 24 children lost their lives. There she is. I am so happy that she lost her job, but she needs to lose her medical license. This is egregious. Her whole sole function in life, she's a board certified pediatrician, is making sure kids are healthy. And yet she's got this hatred and vitriol towards people who don't vote the way she does. Doesn't it seem like it's a mental illness? But it continues. Jasmine Crockett, representative from the great state of Texas. There was an article recently in the New York Post about all of her rhetoric, and it just goes on. She says that Ted Cruz, senator from Texas, has to be knocked over the head, like hard. Okay. And she goes on saying Elon Musk needs to be taken down, and it's important to punch Republicans. And it continues this way. And I'm going to go on to show you some more videos, but you could go on your search engine, which I hope, by the way, you do not use Google anymore. They are biased and they'll only put up articles that tear apart conservatives. So will never ever use Google, but I use DuckDuckGo. And you could pick video after video of elected officials, regular Joes like me, just talking about hate and killing people who don't vote the way they do. Well, here with me is a man I respect very much, Pastor Jackson Laymeyer, who is from the incredible church of Sheridan Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Reverend Jackson, help me figure this out. And can I make it better? Can we all make it better?
It's disgusting, listening to the things that you read. It's actually really, really sad because they're not exposing Donald Trump or anything. What they're doing is they're revealing the wickedness in their own hearts. And I know you mentioned, is this a mental illness? And maybe it's so. Maybe somebody could diagnose that. But, as a pastor, that's not my specialty. We specialize in the human heart. And those words are a result of a very wicked heart. And Jesus put it like this: out of the abundance of your heart, your mouth will speak. So if you want to know what's inside of you, listen to the words that come out of you. And these people, like that pediatrician, for example, you talk about a very dark heart. To be able to say something like that, especially in the moment of a tragedy the stories coming out of Texas, it's so sad. It's so hard to process. And for a pediatrician, one that is supposed to be taking care of children, to say something like that, what they're doing is they're revealing their heart. And this is a major problem in our country. These words that are being floated out there to incite violence. Isn't it interesting? The party that accused us for so long of an insurrection and inciting an insurrection and all these different things, they're literally inciting, trying to incite violence in our nation, political violence, which should not be the case. And so it's a sad condition of the human heart, and goes to show the utter need that all of us have to have our hearts changed by the Lord.
I agree with you, Pastor. And I do believe that there is evil in the world, especially when it comes to the sickness of raping a child or sex trafficking. We saw that explode under the Biden administration through the southern border. These pure, innocent children were trafficked right under our
Right.
noses. And I kept saying, that's the devil. That's the devil, because it's way beyond a mental illness. It is evil. But Pastor, help me personally, help all of us. How do we spread love? How do we stop this before more people get hurt? Later in the show, I'm going to talk about ICE, the attacks on ICE that our elected officials are cheering. They want this. These men and women are family people like you and I. They go to work. They're upholding the law. They're not doing anything wrong, but they have a target on their back. What do we do?
Well, I think there's two things that we can do, especially those of us that are people of faith. We'll call them the two P's. The first one is our most powerful weapon. We have to pray. And I know it's cliche, like, things have gotten really bad when somebody says, we should probably pray about it. But no, there is real power in prayer. And we have a divine line to the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. So we have to pray for our country, pray for the citizens in the country, pray for the direction of the country. But secondly, we have to put feet to those prayers, and we have to participate. That's the second P. So yes, we begin with prayer, but we don't end with prayer. We have to participate in what's happening in our world, in our culture. And this is one of the things that if we could criticize Christians and pastors for the most part, we haven't participated very well. We've prayed, but we haven't participated. And now is the time that the church has to rise. The church has to be the salt and the light. We've got to be the people. We got to be the hands and the feet of Christ on this earth, in our nation. And so pray, but participate. And you and I, we have a mutual friend in General Michael Flynn who says like this, local action produces a national impact. We want to change the national scale of things, but it begins by getting involved locally. So I think that's what we can do right here, right now. We can pray and participate in the healing of our country.
I am going to pray. And I also look at practical solutions. For me, if an elected official has that kind of rhetoric or calls for violence, they should be punished somehow,
Yes.
censured, or there used to be an ethics committee. All of that seems to be by the wayside, and everybody can say and do whatever they want, and there's no decorum, there's no integrity or a higher standard for our elected officials. And some of the rhetoric, we label it rhetoric, but it's really calling for people
Yes.
to get violent.
Right.
And we've got to start censuring them and disciplining them. Maybe they get a fine. I don't know. They were elected by the people, so it's not like we can kick them out of Congress. The people in their communities cannot vote for them again. But somehow there has to be consequences. And I feel that maybe I'm naively thinking this, that if there's punishment against or from your congressional peers, whether it's the House or the Senate, if your peers on both sides collectively say that's wrong and fine the person or censure them, then that speaks volumes to the rest of the world saying, you know what? We can't live with hatred. I don't know. Maybe I'm naive thinking that'll have a ripple down effect, but it would certainly
Well, I
make
would
me
tell
feel
you,
better.
you hit them in the pocketbook, and all of a sudden, everybody everybody perks up a little bit. You start fining financially and making there has to be accountability at some level, and I understand that the voters are the ultimate level of accountability. However, some are in there for 6 years. If you're a senator, you can't be held accountable for 6 years, or if you're in Congress, you got 2 years. And so, peers, though, your peers, your colleagues. Could you hold you accountable? And we need that. We need accountability among our elected officials.
Absolutely. I know you have to go shortly, Pastor Jackson, but I did want to talk to you about the hatred towards people of the Jewish faith. In September of 2024, the FBI came out with a statistic that there was an increase in hate crimes against Jewish people, upwards of 63%. And that is despite Jewish Americans only being 2% of the population. It's really crazy. And we've seen the protests on the far left liberal campuses of Columbia, in NYU, in Harvard. You know, they chant from the river to the sea, which would mean you have to wipe out Israel. So let's look at this anti-Semite mob. I cannot believe that's America. We've beaten ourselves up collectively as a society that we didn't do a lot when we knew what was happening to Jewish people during World War II. Our president at the time wouldn't even let a ship land with Jewish people seeking asylum. And the Catholic Church covered up or ignored, I don't know if covered up is the right word, but ignored the pleas of Jewish people. Having looked back on that history, and we all vowed to never have that hatred in our hearts, to see it happening at such a degree in our country, I can't understand it. And I keep thinking it's going to go away, but this is a recent clip. Again, do we pray? What do we do? Do we start ourselves going to the street peacefully, showing our love multi-faith wise? Is it the pastors getting together with the rabbis, getting together with imams, I think they're called? I don't know. I guess the practical side of me, Pastor, wants to come up with a solution.
Well, this is nothing new to the Jewish people. They have always been attacked everywhere they go. They get attacked, and unfortunately, we're kind of repeating a little bit of history in regards to a lot of people are being silent, or in Germany. Many times those box carts that were transporting Jewish people from one town to a concentration camp, as the Jewish people were going by, say, a church, they would turn the music up in the church to drown out the cries and the screams coming from those Jews at that time. And sometimes I think we're kind of doing the same thing, right? We just turn up the volume of whatever else we're listening to drown out what is actually happening, those chants from, the river to the sea. What that means is the eradication of Israel. And it is so sad to see thank God we have a president that has not wavered on the issue of Israel and the Jewish people, but it is in our culture. And I just want to say this: anti-Semitism is Satanism. That's exactly what it is. There is an enemy who hates the Jewish people. The Bible describes him as Satan. And when you team up with hating the Jewish people simply because they are Jews, you are aligning yourself not with God, you are aligning yourself with Satan. And that is a very dangerous place to be. And so, practically speaking, what can we do? What can we do? Well, there's a lot of great organizations out there that are doing the work that we can link up with, team up with. A good one is Christians United for Israel. It's the largest pro-Israel advocacy group here in the United States of America. They're doing some great things. There are other groups, but I would encourage people, not right now, but take a trip to Israel. Take a trip to Israel whenever it's not at war. Go to Israel. It'll change your life. It'll change your perspective, because a lot of people don't understand what's so special about Israel, what's so special about the Jewish people. Go there. Go there. You'll experience it. You'll find it out. But I am told by the Apostle Paul, as a Gentile Christian, one of my roles is to pray for, but also to bless my Jewish brothers and sisters. And so I go back to the two P's, Dr. Maria. One, we should pray for them, yes, but we can't stop there. We have to participate in protecting them and speaking up for them, because they are a very, very small minority within our country. But look at the persecution that they experience. And this nation was built on religious liberty. You should not be attacked because you are a Jew. That should not ever happen in this country. It is. And hopefully the Trump administration will mobilize and maybe, crush some of these anti-Semitic these are violent protests that are happening. And so not acceptable in our nation.
Not at all. You have such comforting words, and I trust in them. You are a man of faith, a very good man, with a new book out, Chasing the Wind. I know you got to go. Can you give us a quick synopsis before you leave us?
Look. Here we go. Here it is. Chasing After the Wind. Daryl Strawberry wrote the foreword. It's on Amazon. It's on my website, jacksonlawmeyer.com. This book is all about how do you truly become happy? We all chase happiness, but we never catch it. It's like chasing the wind. You don't actually catch it. But you can be happy in this life, and that's what this book is all about. And Dr. Maria, you can verify this. I have 5 kids. I got to feed these 5 kids, so I need some people to go out there, buy this book on Amazon, go to jacksonlawmeyer.com, help me feed my kids. It's a great book. The Forward Alone by Daryl Strawberry is worth the read. And I have a question for you before you let me go. Did your book come in the mail yet? Because I believe they did ship it
yesterday. I'm all excited.
All right. You got it.
Yes, thank you so much. And you know how I know you're such a good man? You don't correct me. I keep mispronouncing your last name. It is Lawmeyer, and I keep saying Lay. It's like my eyes see Lay. It's Lawmeyer.
Everyone says it that way. I answer to Lemire, Laymeyer, Lawmeyer, whatever. I'll answer to it.
All right. Well, have a wonderful evening, Pastor.
Thank you so much. Be blessed.
Thank you. It was important to me to reach out to Pastor Jackson as I was thinking of this segment today. I think any good person is going to be disturbed. And there's hate in different ways, right? We have a lot of hateful rhetoric that we've seen against conservatives. Let's go back in time just a few short years ago and listen to an elected official, Maxine Waters, call for you to get up in the faces of conservatives.
Let's stay the course. Let's make sure we show up wherever we have to show up. And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
Crazy. I never thought I would see that in my lifetime. I remember in real time when that was going on in the first administration. I think I've mentioned it on this show that the press secretary at the time, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who's now governor of Arkansas, she needed Secret Service protection. People listen to these elected officials. So all of a sudden, Ted Cruz going out to dinner, other elected officials are out, people of the cabinet are out and about with their families. Their little children are in tow, and they're being harassed and called violent, vile names and accused of all kinds of things. They're KKK, they're fascists, they're a Nazi. And it doesn't stop. Chuck Schumer on the precious stairs of the Supreme Court. Remember all the hullabaloo around Brett Kavanaugh being nominated to the Supreme Court. We saw a lady come out who blatantly lied in front of a hearing. It was disgusting. It was proved that she lied. But of course, the media went along with whatever she said and didn't fact check anything. This guy didn't do anything. He just happened to be nominated by Donald Trump to the Supreme Court. And listen to what the president at the time of the Senate had to stay on the Supreme Court stairs.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
In our national lead report.
It wasn't long after that, a gunman traveled across the country, very young person, intent on doing harm to at least Brett Kavanaugh, maybe his whole family. Thankfully, the protection was afforded him and his family, and that gunman was stopped. So that same hateful rhetoric is now being aimed at ICE officials, men, women who are holding the law. These are the laws on the books that if there's a warrant for anybody's arrest, these happen to be illegal aliens, so that's where you have ICE, because it's Immigration Enforcement Agency. They go and get these criminals who have warrants for their arrests that happen to be illegal aliens. So that's the first wave. And just coming in illegally is breaking our law. So they are upholding the law of the land. But we've seen incredible hate and violent language. Just look at this TikToker.
Shoot at ICE agents on site. That's right. If ICE agents are trying to take you or a loved one, shoot them on site. The way they're pulling up, with masks on, with unmarked vehicles, no badge, no nothing, it could be anybody. It can be gang members. You have every right to shoot at them. This would be the best self-defense case. You're just in fear for your life. You don't know who's behind that unmarked vehicle or who's behind that mask. This is ridiculous. What is our country coming to? Why would you want to be an ICE agent anyway? Do you like separating kids from their parents? Do you like deporting students that are studying? I can understand deporting a gang member or criminals, but innocent people, it's ridiculous. The way these ICE agents are pulling up with masks on, unmarked vehicles, they are pulling up like gang members. They are pulling up like the mafia. You might as well shoot them on sight and have your day in court. Take care, guys. Now I'm out.
I'm not going to let him detract me from what he said, to shoot them on sight. There may or may not be an argument about ICE officials in unmarked cars and or wearing masks. Let's put that aside. And he wants to distract us by bringing that up. He starts out with, shoot ICE agents, shoot them. Well, there was an organized attempt to ambush ICE agents, not a lone wolf. They had tactical gear, communications. Who's funding it? I don't know, but watch this report.
Back-to-back ambushes targeting immigration officers in Texas. And the Trump administration says Democrats' rhetoric is to blame for the uptick in violence. Welcome to a new hour of America Reports. I'm John Roberts in Washington. Good to be with you, Sandra.
Good to be with you, too, John. I'm Sandra Smith in New York. So in Alvarado, Texas, 10 suspects are facing attempted murder charges after someone shot an officer responding to cars being vandalized at an ICE detention center. And hundreds of miles away in McAllen, Texas, CBP agents killed an armed suspect, stopping a potential massacre before it could begin.
Our political panel takes that up in just moments.
But first, let's get to our chief correspondent, Jonathan Hunt. Jonathan, what else are we learning about these suspects?
Well, Sandra, 10 people have now been charged with attempted murder in the attack on an ICE facility in Alvarado, Texas. These are the 10 currently charged in what appears to be the most coordinated of all the recent attacks on ICE and Border Patrol agents and facilities. It began with the attackers all dressed in what investigators describe as black military-style clothing, shooting fireworks at the Prairieland Detention Center. Around 10 minutes later, one or two of them broke off from the main group and began spray painting the facility and vehicles parked there with words like traitor and other slogans. A police officer arrived, and at that point, one of the group, who had apparently hidden in trees near the facility, opened fire, hitting the officer in the neck, while another attacker, also across the street, fired dozens of rounds at officers who were emerging from the facility.
It was a planned ambush with the intent to kill ICE corrections officers. Make no mistake, this was not a so-called peaceful protest. It was indeed an ambush.
As well as weapons and body armor, police also discovered anarchist literature and flyers in one of the vehicles used by the attackers, material now being closely looked at as part of the investigation. Separately, investigators are also looking into the background of a man shot dead by Border Patrol agents after he opened fire on them at a facility in McAllen, Texas yesterday. And one of the big questions, Sandra, yet to be answered is whether all of these attacks against ICE and Border Patrol are entirely separate incidents or whether there is some form of coordination behind them, and if so, who is organizing this violence and who might be funding it. Sandra?
All right, Jonathan.
Scary stuff. It reminds me of the early 1970s when we saw what we called underground terrorist organization, domestic terrorist organization, like the Black Panthers, the underground, something I can't remember off the top of my head, but they were very violent, typically against government, blowing up buildings. As a matter of fact, we were all shocked when President Obama pardoned one of those bombers who blew up some of the Capitol. So it seems like we're having this resurgence of domestic terrorists. And I know the FBI is going to get right on this. I'm sure they are. Even somebody who I lost all respect for, Christopher Wray, the FBI director under President Biden, at least he was honest during some congressional hearings. A lot of times he wouldn't answer or he skated over issues. But this time, and many times after, he would say, there's a lot of things going on in this country. Bad actors were under threat from foreign and domestic. The problem is, with the Biden administration, they wanted to make it seem like Catholics who went to Latin Mass were the domestic terrorists. They were totally off to left field, like they were cray-cray. But this is a very, very scary thing, and I don't think it's going to end. This is why those ICE agents are wearing masks. And there is an argument on both sides of that, right? They're family people. They're doing their job. They don't want their homes blown up with their children inside. But yet, it's kind of like us in healthcare. There's laws. People should know who's taken care of them. So we all have to wear badges and say what our role is. I used to have mine with CEO, and a doctor has to have MD, a nurse practitioner, a nurse, RN. Because people have the right to know who's taking care of them. And you're right. What happens if some criminals say, ICE is messed up and they have unmarked cars? I'll do the same, pretending I'm ICE, but I may truly be kidnapping somebody. Yes, you run that risk. So I'm not here to say one way or the other what's right or what's wrong. I do know what's wrong is asking and promoting violence to these ICE workers. Do what Kristi Noem has asked you to do. Use the app, self-deport. You get a plane ticket and $1,000, and you won't be punished, meaning you'll be able to come back legally in the country. What better avenue? She's not saying turn yourself in, we're going to put you in jail. She's saying self-deport, go and come back on a list and come back like everybody else comes back. So do the right thing, but we have to stop this hatred. And maybe we need more prayer in the world. Maybe Pastor Jackson is right. We'll have to see. We're going to take a short break, and when I come back, big announcement from the TSA.
I'm pointing to Mike Lindell. That man suffered. That man suffered. The FBI thugs went up to him and they took away everything he had. He suffered. And Mrs. Lindell.
Then you guys come up and serve me papers in Colorado.
What is this? Sir, what is this? My Pillow guy Mike Lindell says the lawsuit is a sham.
How dare him come and sue My Pillow?
They went after him. It was just terrible. This was a vicious weaponization of your government. But I'll tell you, he stood up. He's all man. He stood up strong.
Do I think you guys and them are a traitor to our country by what you did to My Pillow? Yes. We are made in America.
Lindell says he's lost hundreds of millions of dollars.
And nothing was going to faze him. And I want to thank you on behalf of everybody, Mike. You put up with a tremendous amount.
How do you guys sleep at night? You obviously don't have a My Pillow. That's a fact.
He's a great guy.
The last time President Trump was in office, gold soared 50% and silver went up a huge 53%. Americans who invested in silver and gold during Donald Trump's first presidency are very happy that they did it. And right now, gold continues to soar to the highest numbers in history. These gains are just an appetizer for what's to come. Some market analysis are saying that gold is predicted to rise another 30% in the next year alone. So now's the time to invest in gold and silver, and that's why I partnered with Fisher Liberty Gold. Fisher Liberty Gold is a conservative-owned and operated precious metals investment company. They even helped my good friend President Trump get elected through their contributions to Turning Point USA and other conservative groups. I have dedicated my life to ensuring that people get the best sleep ever. And in addition to owning a My Pillow, I can now sleep well at night knowing that you can all protect your savings with precious metals with Fisher Liberty Gold. With Fisher Liberty Gold, you can sleep well knowing that your retirement is secure. And if you call now, you're going to receive your very own presidential gold guide and qualify for up to $20,000 in free silver. But wait, there's more. Call now or text metals to 26786 to receive your presidential gold guide from Fisher Liberty. And for a limited time, I will send you a free My Pillow for qualified accounts. This presidential gold guide from Fisher Liberty will tell you exactly why you need to own gold even while Donald Trump is president. And just by calling in, you get a free My Pillow for a limited time for qualified accounts, and up to $20,000 in free silver. So don't wait. Call 1-888-4GOLD-19 or text metals to 26786 today. That's 1-888-4GOLD19 or text metals to 26786 today to receive your free MyPillow and up to $20,000 in free silver.
Friends, we all know the truth. Big Pharma and the federal bureaucracy have made a mess of healthcare in this country, and boy, that's an understatement. President Trump signed an executive order to bring prices down, and that's a great step. But we know that real change takes time. There's one pharmacy that is already stepping up. I want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy. They're not waiting. They're taking action now with a summer sale that gives you the power to take control of your health. Right now, through the end of June, you get 20% off site-wide, no insurance required. Did you hear that? 20% off, site-wide, no insurance required. They work with licensed doctors in all 50 states, and they ship fast, straight to your door. Whether it's ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, methylene blue, antibiotics, emergency kits, or your daily prescriptions, this is a time to stock up. If you believe in medical freedom, if you're tired of waiting for someone else to fix things, do what I do. Take action. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell and use promo code Lindell20, Lindell 20 for 20% off your entire order. That's allfamilypharmacy.com Lindell. Promo code Lindell20. Let's protect our families, defend our freedom, and make America healthy again together.
Well, Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, was twice in 2 days seen at the White House. Most officials are pretty closed-lipped on what happened behind the scenes. Obviously, we know ceasefire was talked about. Also probably talking about Iran, talking about what's going to happen on the Gaza Strip. Remember, it was October 7th, 2023, when 1,200 people were brutally, savagely raped, murdered, beheaded by Hamas, who is a proxy terrorist group of Iran. And they are so embedded in Gaza. Actually, the Palestinian people voted for Hamas to be their government. Now, in their schools, children as young as 7 years old learn how to hate Jewish people and Americans. And the only good Jewish person, according to the Palestinians, is a dead one. It is hard to separate Palestinians from Hamas since they're so embedded. And some of those hostages were in Palestinian homes. Well, we can come up with a lot of excuses that the Palestinians feel threatened. Okay, did it make you starve that hostage? Put cigarette butts out on a 7-year-old? It is very hard to distinguish. And we saw countries that Hamas and Hezbollah moved to, like Lebanon, which was the Riviera of the Middle East. Everybody wanted to go to Lebanon. And all of a sudden, the Christians were being killed. The leadership, Hezbollah leadership, was taking all the money, and people lived in poverty. And it's a very violent place in some places to go now. This is why the Egyptian president and those presidents surrounding the Gaza Strip do not want to take Palestinians. Well, Benjamin Netanyahu and President Trump keep trying to think of creative ways to get the Palestinians to relocate. They're going around trying to beg other countries to take them. But history is history, and nobody really wants to repeat that or have that kind of element come into their country. I have a new plan. How about Israel take back some land? And the Gaza Strip, right? It's prime beach land, right? And these poor people, it's really demolished because of Hamas, killing 1,200 people, kidnapping 260 plus. Allegedly, there's 50 hostages still remaining, but the authorities say there's probably really only 25 alive. A lot of them got killed. Maybe up to 100 got killed in captivity. Who knows? But it's really devastated right now from all the bombing that had to occur, understandably, but it needs to rebuild. They're always going to go after Israel, right? At least that's the way it looks. They really don't want to back down, even though peace talks are continuing. There is a 60-day ceasefire that was agreed upon between Israel and Hamas, so that's a good start. We need those hostages released. Why aren't they releasing them if they really want good faith? These are legitimate questions, but here's my plan. If nobody will take them and they don't want to relocate, how about Gaza Strip, give them the land in the middle and surround them with Israel on the sides? They can do that. This is war. Take back your land you gave them anyway. So you would have a buffer on all sides. And then maybe through time, we can weed out the hatred. I don't know. It's so ingrained in their teaching. Qatar is playing a big role in this. You've heard me criticize Qatar before because right after that brutality that occurred on October 7th, where did the Hamas leaders seek refuge? Qatar. And they lived like kings over there in mansions, and they were protected. So it's this weird thing that Qatar is in the midst of all negotiations between Israel and Hamas, Israel and Iran, the United States and Iran, although it is United States officials who have a date to talk to Iranian leaders next week. But we'll see where all this goes with the Gaza Strip. We just have to watch, right, and see what Benjamin Netanyahu, the United States government, Qatar, Hamas, Iran, what we all figure out. Well, great news from TSA. What bothers you the most when you have to go through security? Taking out half your belongings or taking off your shoes? Well, listen to this announcement from Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem.
I'm the Secretary of Homeland Security. Thank you so much for coming out today. We have some very exciting news to announce that today we have started a new no shoes policy with the the Transportation Security Administration. TSA will no longer require travelers to remove their shoes when they go through our security checkpoints. This is something that I know for quite some time people have talked about and discussed, and we know that when President Trump was elected that he pledged to make life better for all Americans, and that includes those who are travelers going through our busy airports. We want to improve this travel experience, but while maintaining safety standards and making sure that we are keeping people safe as they go to take their vacations, travel for work, or spend time with their families. So we took a hard look at how TSA does its business, how it does its screening processes, and what we do to make people safe, but also provide some hospitality as well. Now, this is especially important to streamline the process and look at efficiencies that we can build in as we build up for some big events that are going to be coming here in the next 12 months here in the United States.
Well, yay. And this new policy starts Sunday. Remember how this all started? Well, 2006, this guy, Richard Reed, coming from Paris to Miami, had some explosive in his shoes, and he tried to light his shoes, and he couldn't quite get the matches going, and a really heroic bystander stopped him from doing that. So from then on out, we had to take off of our shoes. Of course, if your shoe does alarm because of metal, some people have metal tips or their shoe is made with metal buckle, you still may be asked to take off that shoe for a closer inspection. But overall, all of us are going to be freed to walk through with our shoes. You know, I do travel a lot, so each airport is a little bit different, and some people have better screening radiography. So a lot of airports I go to, you don't have to take out your laptop or iPad or anything else because they're going to pick up on that. So not all are alike. And I was in Dubai going to Astana, Kazakhstan, about a month ago, and I was very shocked about the water bottles. I was like, oh, I forgot my water bottle. Let me grab it. Oh, you can have water. We don't care. So it's really weird, but yet they made a big deal because I do a show. I had a long extension cord for my equipment, and that was not allowed to be brought on to the plane. And I really couldn't get an explanation. I was going to follow their rules, of course. I just seek to understand. And the guy kept shrugging. I'm not really sure why it's not allowed. And I said, because it's a long cord, do you think? And he said, yeah, that's the reason, it's a long cord. So I had to put it underneath with the rest of my stuff. But President Trump, he keeps moving forward. He keeps getting nominated for the Peace Award. Actually, while Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was at the White House, he showed President Trump a letter that he wrote to the Nobel Peace Prize board nominating President Trump. We do know it was Pakistan, ending the Pakistani-India little scuffle. He was nominated from there for the Nobel Peace Prize. Recently, I think it was on June 27th of this year, 2025, Marco Rubio, our Secretary of State, and President Trump helped end a long conflict with the Democratic Republic of Congo in Rwanda. And there was brutal fighting that went on forever. Lots of people died. And President Trump and Secretary Rubio helped end that. And again, they talked about him getting the Nobel Peace Prize. Well, now he entertained today. He had 5 African leaders at the White House. You know, Africa's been a mess for a while, and some of their gangs that run things really violent, and talk about grooming children. In some areas, the kids, especially the boys, are taken in grade school, 7, 8 years old, and they learn weapons. They're actually given heroin. Some of them to confuse them, to manipulate their minds, and they're brought up to hate, whether it's the next state in Africa or a people's. A lot of ethnic cleansing goes on between some states. So it's been a mess. So then we have China buying up a lot of land in Africa. Well, of course, they want some of those great earth minerals, and we know about the cobalt for the cobalt batteries, using a lot of child labor, not too good there. So it's a little concerning. Is China, what are they going to do with all this? But anyways, we've ignored Africa for a long time, and I'm glad that President Trump, I remember even actors way back with the Clinton administration calling out some of the genocide and some of the bad things happening in Africa. And, you know, why do we get involved in some areas, not the other? There was all this controversy at the time. But I'm very glad. Today he hosted 5 leaders. Let's see, they were from Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Mauritania, and Senegal. And it was a lot about trade. Again, President Trump's not telling them how they should run their nations. He's saying, where are their opportunities, and can we have win-win situations? As a business person, I have 2 companies. I'm involved in 2 companies. As you know, as a hospital CEO, which is a business, believe it or not, you really have to look for those win-win situations that both parties can benefit. And that's exactly what President Trump is doing. So I was very, very happy to see that he had those 5 nations there today. So continuing with that terrible flash flood in, oh my goodness, in Texas, the Guadalupe River, we all watched in fear and fright. So many people washed away, 26 feet in 45 minutes, almost unheard of. And the death count, of course, keeps going up, 100 plus dead, almost 30 children. I have the numbers somewhere, 59 adults and 36 children, 173 people still missing. Lots of talk about the rescue efforts now changing to recovery. I think they should be simultaneous, right? There may be a miracle out there. There may be, whether it's a child or an adult, a human life hanging on somewhere, just waiting to be found. It is just a very devastating thing. A lot of people now talking about the cloud seeding and that it was truly going on in that area. I was briefly watched an interview with somebody who has a company of cloud seeding. Look at how high that river is. I know this little video can make you a little nauseous, but it's there we go. It's meant to show how high and quickly it rose. And of course, there was just another flash flood in New Mexico. 3 people perished. Came on all of a sudden. It doesn't compare. 3 lives are precious, but look at this. This is a house in New Mexico being swept away. This is why these flash floods cannot be underestimated. The velocity of the water can move your whole house. It moved cars. We have to be logical. If an area is prone to flash floods, we've got to be practical and not build so close to the embankments, or you're asking for trouble. And I don't care if the last one was 20 years ago. Just like Mount Vesuvius, I know someday something's going to happen to the people who are now living at the base of Vesuvius or Mount Hood or any of the other ones that have active volcanoes. But if Pastor Jackson was still on, he would tell us to pray, pray, pray. And that's all we can really do, right? And hope for some practical solutions to prevent this. If you can, everybody did what they were supposed to. There was warnings that started on the 2nd, although I don't know everything. So I'm very cautious about pointing out any kind of lapses. But from what I know, on July 2nd, a post went up from the Texas Emergency Management on X. Believe it or not, not everybody's on social media. And then the next day, a little bit more, that it's highly likely a flash flood may occur. And then, of course, the National Weather Service after midnight putting out an alert via cell phone. That's what I know. Maybe more to it. But Lieutenant Dan Patrick did talk about putting in some sirens in those high flash flood prone areas. And for all those Christian camps, and I don't care if you were non-Christian camps, all those camps for children, please, 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 I know you have that prime real estate being riverfront, but move them back. Move them higher. Maybe, there is one site that was safe or safer, that was higher grounds that had some older children in it. Maybe that needs to be multi-story, to get away from that river bend. But let's be practical. We give you all the love we have in our heart to the people of Texas, more importantly, the families of those who have passed away. We're hearing, in the midst of all this badness, of course, you hear about the volunteers, but you hear about 2 sisters who died holding hands, comforting each other, or trying to save each other. It's just mind-boggling. And, it goes back to the top of my program about hate. So we saw the best of people come out wanting to volunteer, wanting to donate money, whatever they could, giving love, good vibes, prayer. And then you see people saying, oh, well, it was a Christian camp. So what? 39 children died. Are you kidding me? Have we degenerated that far that we can hate another group because they're a particular religion, which we're seeing with the Jewish people? So we're better than that, people. And I know, I can imagine the people that watch my show are good people. Your healthcare workers, your business people, your everyday Joes who pay your taxes. So you are the good of society. But I want to reach out to those people who are really misguided. And if you're mentally ill, I want to get you help. But we're better than this, people. So we'll be our own posse, the Dr. Maria posse, to pray. And even if you don't want to pray, if it's not your thing, be good to your neighbor. We'll get through this. God bless Texas. God bless America. And we will see you Friday night.